I'm Alan Braslow. I'm your host on Protector of the Pack. I have with me today Dr. Lisa Allmiller. Lisa is the owner of House Paws Mobile Vet. My own estimation, the best veterinary practice in the area. She and her folks constantly are bailing me out. They are also the veterinarian that we use for PT's Puppy Love Adoption Center, the puppy store that we converted to a rescue adoption center only. Lisa's folks make sure that everything's in line and all the puppies are taken care of. What we wanted to talk today about is puppies and what you should know when it comes to taking care of puppies, what to do, what not to do. So let me introduce you again to Lisa. Maybe we can start by tell us a little bit about your background, Lisa, your passion for what you do and House Paws and all of that.
Okay. Well, I graduated vet school in 1999, and I was a traditional vet for maybe 12 or 13 years. And about 6 years ago, we opened House Paws Mobile Veterinary Service, and I used to read James Herriot books. So I was always into, the guy that goes out to the house to see the farm animals and the cat and all that. So I just thought it was, and I had a midwife. I had two
Wow.
home births myself, so I use home medical care. So I just thought it would be great to have that same sort of thing for veterinary care. So we have 11 vets now. We do most of our calls in the home, and then we only bring the pets to the hospital when they need to come to the hospital. We do have some clients that prefer hospital visits, but most of our clients love, once they have a home vet visit, they're pretty hooked.
Yeah, one of the things I found when your folks come out, either you come out or any of the other vets come out or the vet techs come out, it's so much better for our animals. There's less stress because they're in their own environment. And when we do those group physicals for my crew, they all hang out, and there's not that fear that you're dragging them in and they're getting nervous. Plus, when we've gone to your facility here in Mount Laurel, it just amazes me how open it is. In fact, that was a question I've always wanted to ask you. You can see everything. Right. When you're there, and I don't see that happen in most veterinary practices. They close the door and it's out of sight, out of mind.
We designed it that way because we were trying to make it stay with the home feel. Even in the hospital, you can notice there's real pictures on the walls. There's wooden cabinets. Like, it's meant to feel like home. And at your house, we don't take your pet into the back and draw blood work like a traditional hospital. We do it right in front of you. So we felt the hospital should be the same way. So, like, literally, you can see from the front desk into surgery. You can't see what we're doing in surgery, but you can see that we're properly gowned. You can see that the technicians are monitoring. You can see the machines. And there's kind of we have some clients that don't want to leave their pet when they have procedures, and they go into the comfort room, and they get on Wi-Fi, and they have a cup of coffee, and they do work on their computer while they're waiting for their pet, and then they can help recover their pet in the comfort room. So it's meant to be more. It's meant to have that feel of like, you're not taking my baby away from me.
Interesting. Before we get into what you recommend on puppies and how we should deal with that, one of the things I've admired that you do is holistic medicine. And because you've done acupuncture with some of my dogs, we make sure it's not always the traditional. How did you get into that? What made you lead that way?
Well, I noticed very early that some things weren't getting better with traditional medicine. So some things, just antibiotics weren't working, steroids weren't working, regular medicines weren't working, and there just seemed like I was missing something. And I always thought a good doctor should have as many tools in their toolbox to fix things. So I just started gathering tools. I started looking at herbal options and food therapy, acupuncture, cold laser therapy, stem cell therapy. So there's a lot of tools out there, and I think that there's a solution to fix everything. I mean, sometimes they're not if it's an end-stage disease, but with holistic medicine, which means you're looking at the pet as a whole, you try to catch things before there's an actual disease so that you can prevent the disease. But there's lots of diseases you can cure too with the right tools. So, we've reversed diabetics using food therapy and herbs. There's all kinds of things that you can reverse with if you have the right tool.
Yeah.
If you have the right tool.
I remember when you first started doing acupuncture, we had two seniors. One was 18, one was, I guess, 15. And they both had these horrible coughs and whatever. And I was doubting whether or not it would do any good, but I trust you. And you came in and you did the acupuncture on both of them, and all of a sudden they weren't coughing anymore.
Right.
It was like, wow, this is amazing. Without medication, they looked forward. I have to believe to when you would come in, because they would walk in and lie down and they're ready to get their acupuncture.
Yeah, and acupuncture is especially beneficial if it's an acute process. Like we've had some puppies with kennel cough, and we'll do acupuncture and they get better like the next day. You know,
Wow.
whereas sometimes if you had like a chronic cough that's been 2 years, that might take 6 sessions to get better. You know, just like anything else. Like how long did it take you to, if you're pregnant, how long did it take you to gain all that weight? 9 months. Well, let's give yourself 9 months to lose it. You know, like
That's
like
interesting.
you can't lose it overnight.
That's interesting. Any special things you remember about some of the herbal medicines you do? How that you were surprised when you started using some of these non-traditional methods?
I guess I go into everything with a healthy degree of skepticism. So I went into acupuncture and herbal medicine with that, some homeopathic stuff that I was like, oh, I even tell clients, this is voodoo. It's voodoo, but let's see if it works.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we have there's some diseases that cats get, the autoimmune diseases of the skin, and I've had several pets do great with food therapy and homeopathic tinctures, which traditionally we would just give them steroids and immunosuppressive drugs. And these cats do great because we're actually targeting, helping their immune system be stronger as opposed to suppressing their immune system. So it just amazes me that we can harness the power of the body to help them get better.
Interesting. We were talking a little bit, wanted to get into puppies and
Yeah.
things like that, and I have a lot of questions with you. Because I think you take a different approach than some of the vets do. They kind of, in my mind, they rush things. So let's say they're either going to a shelter or they're going to a good breeder, because I get into those discussions with individuals because I'm in rescue, that there are very good breeders out there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't sell to stores. They're just good breeders
Mm-hmm.
that you can deal with, and you see what everything happens. As well as P&Ts, where you came in and your folks have been great helping us out. Someone gets a new puppy, what should they be doing?
Well, no matter where you get the puppy from, you should absolutely see a vet within 7 to 14 days of getting a puppy. A lot of times the breeders and the rescues will have the puppies have their shots. They often have dewormed them, but you have to develop a relationship from the beginning with a veterinarian. 1, to help them pick the right food. 2, just because they've been dewormed doesn't mean they don't have parasites. You actually have to run a stool sample to find out if they have parasites. Most of the dewormers they give may be target rounds or hookworms, like the most common worms.
Right.
But we see lots of puppies coming in with Giardia, which is a human health hazard. Whipworm is a worm that if you get it in your soil, it's like impossible to get out of your soil. So a lot of people think, oh, the puppy has its vaccine and it's got dewormed, like we're good to go, I don't have to go see a vet. But there's so much that we can do, and especially if you get from a breeder or buy from a puppy store. There's a puppy lemon law in New Jersey, and if you get the puppy seen within 14 days and there's an issue, the breeder or the pet store would have to, the pet store would have to pay up to double to repair the puppy. The breeder would have to pay up to the cost of the puppy to fix the puppy. If you get from outside of the state of New Jersey, all bets are off as far as the state helping you.
Okay, I want to get back to that. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but I want to talk to you about what you recommend on treatments for puppies, when they should be spay-neutered when we come back, and also your opinion on veterinarians who actually work with puppy stores that sell puppy mill dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have my own opinion, but I'm curious what yours is.
Okay.
We'll be back in a few moments.
When we make Beyond Natural dry dog and cat foods, we start with real meat as the first ingredient. We leave out corn, wheat, and soy. And we own where our dry food is made. 100%. Can other brands say all that? For nutrition you can trust and your pet will enjoy. Does your food go beyond? Learn more at purinabeyond.com.
Today's show has been sponsored by Farmers Insurance in Voorhees, New Jersey. To protect your assets and the people you love, call Mike Skoranek, your local Farmers Insurance agent, at 856-336-2553.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack. I'm Alan Braslow, your host again, and I'm with Dr. Lisa Miller of House Paws Mobile Vet. When we took a break, we were just starting to talk about you've adopted your new puppy, and Lisa was talking about the importance of getting to your veterinarian. I personally think right away. I don't want to trust anyone and wait, because I think if you wait, you leave yourself open for a potential problem. You're going to take it to your veterinarian anyway, so get there right away. What are the things that you look at for a new puppy? You were talking about worms and giardia, which I've also found that people tend to think, well, I've got my puppy and it had its first couple of shots and it's been dewormed. I have nothing to worry about, which seems like my experience, the furthest thing from the truth.
Right. Yeah, it is true. And just to go with your comment, I like if people can have the puppy at home for like 2 days before they come in, 2 or 3, because then they're going to have behavior questions. They're going to know the puppy a little bit. So I'll sometimes say, don't come in like tomorrow. Like give it a day or 2. Like then you know like it won't walk or it does this or it does that, and it helps us do a better exam. Or when we go to their house, it helps us do a better exam. But yeah, the way that they set up deworming with the pet stores or the rescues or the breeders is they don't deworm right for each worm, so it can actually hide things in the samples. So most vets will recommend a fecal every time you come in, because the first time it could be negative, the second time it could be giardia, the third time it could be whipworms. Plus puppies are putting their mouth on everything. So they're like little kids, except they're putting their mouth in the dirt where things have gone to the bathroom. We're not as careful with what goes in our dog's mouth as what goes in our children's mouths. So we do see them pick up more parasites. But yeah, I think that definitely within a week you should see a vet. You should discuss diet with the vet, discuss your pet's lifestyle to decide which vaccines they may or may not need. And I think you should get pet insurance for your puppy right away, because if you have pet insurance before your puppy comes back with a positive fecal, the pet insurance will cover the fecal. So say you have a giardia that takes 6 months to clear because it is a hard case. Like now you have pet insurance to cover that. But the way pet insurance works is once you're sick or once you have a problem, that problem's written off.
You just mentioned something that kind of jumps out at me. A giardia that could take 6 months to cure. I know we had a litter of puppies in our kitchen, and it was the puppies from hell type of thing with giardia. And I remember I think Dr. Wood was out, and she said it's going to take a while to cure it.
Right.
And so many people think that it's magic. You give them one dose of medication, and
yeah, certain parasites are tough, and then they can recontaminate because they're puppies and they're playing in the environment. And people can be great about cleaning them up, but they could step in it and lick their feet, or they're chewing on each other's tail, so they can recontaminate. But the other thing is they don't have a good immune system yet. So most of your immune system is in your GI tract, and you're a little puppy, you just got vaccinated, you got taken away from your mom, now you've got giardia, and then we're deworming you, which kills all your good bacteria as well. Like it probably affects your good bacteria. So your intestines just aren't in a great place. So I think it sometimes takes them a while to clear certain things. But giardia tends to be a tough one to get rid of.
You made me think of something. Every time you say something, I think of something else
Right.
that we've probably gone through wherever we have helped us. I remember you having us putting all of our dogs on a good bacteria something that we were sprinkling on their food. Would you do that for puppies as well? Explain the logic behind it, and would you do it for puppies as well?
Well, ideally, the ideal time to take a puppy away from its mom is around 12 weeks. Nobody wants to wait 12 weeks for a puppy. The rescues want to get rid of them sooner, pet stores want to get rid of them sooner, but between 9 and 12 weeks is when they have their social learned behavior. So they would have less anxieties and other issues if they stayed with their mom between, and their litter mates until they were 12 weeks old.
Right.
Most people are pushing them out the door at 8 weeks, so they're weaning them as early as 5 or 6, and they're giving them their shots as early as 6. So, what would be nice for the puppy doesn't really happen in the real world. So what we do is we set them up very early. We take their milk away too soon. We put them on grain-based diets too soon. We deworm them too soon. They get their vaccines too soon, and what that all affects their GI tract. So I think all puppies should be on a good multivitamin mineral tablet. I think all puppies should be on a good oil, like a good quality fish oil
Right.
for pets. And I think most puppies would benefit from a probiotic, especially if they've had parasites.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
It's hard to sell that because people think you're selling them something, but there's real logic behind it.
Well, I was thinking along that line, if the folks who are doing the adoptions out, or for instance, if the rescues, you go to a local shelter and you adopt a pet out, and it is a puppy sometimes it's an adult, but if they were to provide that information as part of the adoption, you work with our pit bull rescue, and I know my wife has put together an incredible package of information based on a lot of things that you shared with us on the foods they should use, the vitamins they should use, the oils and whatever, making them their treats and the whole 9 yards so that we educate the folks. The P&Ts, which we converted, and that way when you became the veterinarian practice to take care of everything, or we've been taking your advice, and people are getting a package there as well, explaining to them what they should do. I don't see that in what I call the commercial puppy mill stores,
Right.
where they just, as you said, 8 weeks old, they ship them out the door, they get their credit card, and goodbye, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough.
One of the problems we ran into in rescue is that there are probably about 30 different puppy stores that sell puppy mill dogs still in the state of New Jersey. Fortunately, one of them was just closed this weekend. He lost his license, but we find a lot of problems from the dogs that are coming from these puppy stores because they're commercially bred, and all the things that you said shouldn't happen tend to happen. I know you've been very, very good in not getting involved in those type of operations and walking away from a, quote, business opportunity for future business. What are your thoughts as to the ethics of what a vet should do? Should they be reaching out to these folks using the thing, well, somebody has to treat them, which is a story we got, or?
No, I mean, we up until P&T's Puppy Love, we have not worked with a puppy store. And we only work with them because they're rescue oriented. Yeah, our vets have just decided we can't work with stores that have puppies that come from puppy mills. Do the puppies need care? Yes, but honestly, those stores probably don't want to pay for real veterinary care. They tend to, and they do have real vets that come, but a lot of times they want like a quick job. Like, can you charge me $10 per puppy? And we see puppies come from puppy stores like that, and they've got dental malformations that haven't been caught, or they've got heart murmurs that haven't been caught. So you get what you pay for. If you're going to pay for someone to come in and do a quickie job, when you hire a vet to work with you, you should be hiring someone that's going to help you make protocols. It's going to help you keep the puppies healthy and help them not come back to you. Now, not everybody that we work with does that. Like, we offer that to every rescue that we work with, and some rescues are like gung-ho about it, and other rescues just want to use us for veterinary care and don't really want advice, which is fine, but we offer it. And I think that, we have left rescues and we have left other places where if they're breaking certain rules, like you can't give medicine unless you've asked us. Like, we don't want you just giving antibiotics to everything. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, we give one warning on that, and if you're using medicines unprescribed by a veterinarian, that's only going to hurt the puppy, and we don't want our name associated with that. So
That's interesting.
we don't have a lot of rules. We offer a lot of things, but we do have some, some rules that we have to follow.
Well, that's one of the things that I think why I enjoy working with your practice, and why I recommend it to any of the rescues that I work with, is that you have a conscience and you're ethical, and there's a couple of vets who I believe are kind of narcissistic. They will do whatever they can for the money, and they look at the future billables. You go in the other direction. It's what's the right thing to do, and how to address that. The other question I had for you too, we were talking, and you got us hooked on this with our Don't Bully Us rescue, is not to do pediatric spay neuter, but We're probably going to take a commercial break real quick, but when we come back, I'd like to explain the logic behind it and why you believe that's the only way to really go. What's the impact, the negative impact on a dog if you're going to spay neuter? We'll be back in a few moments from our commercial break, and Dr. Lisa can educate you as to why no pediatric spay neuter, if at all possible.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
You can't predict what a pet will bring to your life, but with a plan in front of you and veterinary pet insurance behind you, you're ready for whatever comes your way. With VPI, you're ready for anything.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
Pet Patrol, Alan Braslow, host of Protector of the Pack, and I'm again with Dr. Lisa Miller from House Paws Mobile Vet. We were talking a little bit during the break about pediatric spay neuter. Lisa had us convert about 1.5 years ago with our pit bull rescue to no pediatric spay neuter, and for the record, we're 100% compliant with every adoption, and over 300 puppies adopted out. We also went when the puppy store in Cherry Hill converted to rescue only and as an adoption center. If the dogs came up from a rescue which were not spay neutered by that rescue, we go with a 6-month agreement and follow up on that, and we have 100% compliance there as well. Why?
Well, I think the easiest thing to say is if you took my 8-year-old and spayed her right now, we took out her uterus and her ovaries right now, would my 8-year-old be a different person? And the answer is, I don't think anyone would deny that. I don't think anyone would say, oh, you're setting her up for a lifetime of problems. She's going to get diabetes and thyroid disease and weight gain and, all those things that we think about with women in their 40s and 50s that get their uterus taken out and their ovaries taken out. Like if you take a baby and do it, or someone pre-menstrual and do it, you're setting them up for problems. Luckily, there's studies to support that. I often talk to clients and say, oh, that the new studies show, but they're not really new. They've been out for about 10 years. And they did the studies mainly in Goldens and Rottweilers. But if you, and unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, the studies actually show that you should go beyond, 6 months, but as far as early pediatric spay neuter, it's easy, it's cheap, it makes rescues feel safe, I guess, about less puppies in the world. But the rescues that I see spend so much time researching who their puppies go to. I don't even think I would pass the application. The number of hours I work a day and everything else, if your yard's fenced or not fenced, they are so good. They do home checks. They call the veterinarians and do veterinary checks. Mm-hmm. If you do that work, you should trust that owner is going to make the educated decisions with their veterinarian for their pet's long-term wellness. Now, if you're a rescue that doesn't do that, then I guess spay and neuter away. But if you're doing that work, there's no reason to not trust who they're going to.
Interesting. I found that some of the big pet store chains, that's where we've run into an issue with them, where they won't let you do an adoption event because they haven't caught up with what the reality of pediatric spay neuter not being good, or they don't trust that the rescue will actually get it taken care of.
Well, you can't change corporate laws, but I would be interested to know if it's 6 months or earlier that they want earlier. I mean, most veterinarians are saying 6 months.
Right.
So I believe that the corporate places probably would not want a 2-year-old that was intact. because they think it might get into a fight. But I don't know that they would care if it was a 4-month-old or a 5-month-old that was intact.
Believe it or not, they have fought us, a couple of them, over we cannot do an adoption event at their facility unless, no matter what the age is, the dog is not adopted out until it's spayed neutered. So we take the
Oh,
position.
they're not adopted out until
Not
they're spayed
adopted
neutered.
out until it's spayed neutered. And we've
Gotcha.
taken to the approach, no, that doesn't work for us.
Yeah, they don't work with them because it's
And
not
don't
right.
work with them.
It's
Yeah,
not right.
It's not worth it.
And you know what? The first thing that brought it to my attention to bring it up to rescues, because I've been talking about this for a while, but about a year ago we got a bunch of rescues together to talk about it, is because really good clients started coming in and saying, yeah, they already spayed her and she's only 3 months old, and is that gonna affect her health? So now I'm stuck. Like, do I tell her the truth? And possibly so I wanted to bring to the rescue's attentions, like, educated owners are reading and they know that they shouldn't be spayed or neutered early. And they're like, I wish I had the choice. I won't adopt again if they spay neuter. And now do I have to worry about diabetes and thyroid and cancer and joint problems, which they read about. So if rescues don't catch up with the research, there's going to be a backlash on rescue and people are going to go back to breeders.
Interesting when you say that.
And pet stores.
Yeah, oh, God forbid. You work with a number of rescues. What,
Yes.
60, 70 rescues or better that you work with, I guess now?
Yeah.
What percentage would you say actually get it? They understand and they've read what you've given them. I mean, we went through the education process,
Right.
and it was like, yeah, it makes sense to do this. You've brought in good speakers too.
Right.
So it's not just I'm your vet, I'm telling you this, but you brought other collateral
Yeah.
material in and whatever. How many really?
I'd say like
Did you say that?
25% maybe. 25% have seen it work. It's taking a leap of faith and believing in people, which is hard to do when you're a rescuer, because rescuers have lost faith in people. They have all the horror stories. People get divorced and they don't want their dog anymore. They go into the military and they leave it in the house, and when they abandon the house, like, we've all heard the horror stories that happen, but that's like the little bad apples aren't what most of the world is, and I think that if you do that research on your owners, I think that you just have to trust them, trust their vet, trust them, trust what you've seen about them, but the research says that if they're neutered before a year, spayed or neutered before a year, their chances of certain cancers are higher, like hemangiosarcoma, which is very common in the blood organs like the spleen, the liver, the heart, osteosarcoma, which is bone cancer, transitional cell carcinoma, which is bladder cancer, prostate cancer in boys, the bad type is more common when they're unneutered.
Really?
I mean, when they are neutered.
Early. Interesting.
Early. And joints, their growth plates don't close till they're 2. So a breeder, like if I was breeding the labs, I would have their hips pen certified or OF8 or having like a special test done when they're 2 to make sure they were good breeding material. That's when good breeders get their hips checked. If we neuter them when they're younger, before that time, their hind legs grow longer, which makes them more prone to hip dysplasia and knee
I saw
problems.
those X-rays when you gave the talk and you had the folks in from North Star. It just blew my mind, the difference developmentally in 2 dogs, same exact breed. It was like a wake-up call.
Yeah, but what I tell every owner that I talk with, like not rescues, but if you came into me as an owner, I would say, are you a responsible owner or not?
Yeah.
Because that's where we have to start. And then I say, just to make them feel comfortable, I say, I'm not responsible. I have a 72-acre farm. My grandparents have a 72-acre farm in Maryland, and I take my dogs off leash through the woods, and we run and we play, and if I had an intact female, that wouldn't be responsible.
That wouldn't be a good idea. No.
No.
Every dog in the neighborhood.
No, or an
converting.
intact male, he could smell someone and be off. So, it depends on if your dogs are always supervised, leash walked only, or dog parked, where they're in an enclosed situation. A responsible owner can handle a pet that goes into a heat. And then, of course, knowing that they're on lockdown, when they go into heat. Now, if you have a male, not all males demonstrate the behaviors that we worry about, like roaming and escaping and aggression. So we talk about the behaviors that could develop, marking. I went to a house once and the lab marked me. when I walked in. And I said, neuter that dog!
Yeah.
You know, it was a 2-year-old lab that hadn't been neutered. And he's not running, but he's
And
marking
that'll really
people.
that'll help with the marketing.
Marking, yeah, but I also have been to homes where the dog's 12 and has never marked their whole life in their home or on people. You know, so it's a responsible owner that understands, like, the pros and cons. And if things happen, like if you have a Rottweiler and he hits 9 months and he starts becoming more protective, neuter him right away.
Really?
You know, because we don't want him to become so testosterone, you know, oriented that he's misreading everybody that walks through the door.
I have another question for you because I want to make sure people hear how you approach this. You know I'm kind of crazy when I call you or text you with all sorts of questions. And I remember you saying to me, we have someone on staff who's answering this 24 hours a day, relatively speaking, on the weekend. And then you can help us make a decision when we have an issue, and especially with young puppies who get into things. The older dogs maybe a little bit less, but how you handle making that recommendation to take it to someone like North Star or whatever. But you're there to answer those questions, and I wonder if you could explain that to the folks a little bit about how you address that.
You mean like if a client has a problem on a weekend?
Yeah, it's
or?
after hours,
Oh.
it's on the weekend, and who do you want to call? You want to call somebody you trust. We trust you.
Right, right. Well, we believe in being the pet's advocate. So unfortunately, everybody doesn't listen to the prompts, but one of the prompts says...
I was guilty, I
think
know.
The first one says for an emergency, call North Star, like a life-threatening emergency. The second one says if you want to talk to an emergency technician on call. You know, and the technicians have me on call. So sometimes people are just calling because their pet's having diarrhea, which isn't a reason to bother a vet on the, you know, at midnight.
Right.
But, you know, and we can walk them, the technicians can walk them through that. But sometimes it's a real problem, like when your daughter had an issue. And it really helps, like North Star is a great hospital, and there's other hospitals like that too, where they don't mind us being an advocate for the owner. Because the owner's stressed, the owner's freaking out, they're not thinking straight because of this, they're stressed, and they just want someone they trust to talk to the other vet.
Yeah,
and I mean, even me, like one of my dogs got hit one time. The gas man didn't latch the fence, and when I went to North Star, like you're so stressed at that moment that you can't really hear what people are saying, and that's someone with education, you know. Like, so for the owners, it really helps them to have someone that's their advocate. And sometimes, if you don't have pet insurance, getting a $6,000 estimate is overwhelming. You know, whereas if you have your advocate there, you can say like, well, all you have to do is the ultrasound first, and then let's find out the answers. Like that's an estimate for if we do everything in the world. Let's start in one place.
It's interesting, and that was something I admired with you folks. My daughter, for example, her dog got very, very sick very quickly. But you folks were there to talk to her and then talk to North Star and help walk through the process. And then even come in, because I felt more comfortable with you folks, to do the surgery, having, and things like that. Before we end this, we're definitely going to have you back. We'll find some other great topics to have you talk about. But tell the folks a little bit of how they can reach you. You can call me. I'll always give you Lisa's phone number. I think I have it memorized. Text her. But how they should be contacting House Paws.
There's a few ways to contact us. By phone, it's 856-234-5230. We have a live chat on our website, which is www.housepawsmobilevet.com. We have a text-only line, which is 856-723-6850. And then, of course, you can email us directly at info@housepawsmobilevet.com.
And what's nice is you will find you always get a response. Even when you ask questions where you're saying to yourself, do I really want to ask this question? But you will get a very professional and a very kind response from Lisa and the crowd. Any last messages you want to leave for people other than don't spay, neuter, pediatric, or?
Yeah, well, I would just say be open-minded and have a vet that you trust to develop a plan that's going to keep your puppy or kitten healthy as long as possible.
Awesome.
And that should be one of the topics of discussion.
Great. Give me your number one more time, just for those of you who are like me, who have attention deficit and forgot to write it down.
It's 856-234-5230.
Thank you again for joining us. Pet Patrol, Protector of the Pack, Alan Braslow, with Dr. Lisa Allmiller, my favorite veterinarian.